All right. Well, what's up, everybody? Stormgate, the RTS, which has got everyone excited. It's got basically the veterans that made every great RTS game, Warcraft, Command and Conquer, StarCraft, that you love, working with a big budget and a whole lot of cool statements about their intentions so far on a game called Stormgate. So they've done a little update. Let's watch it. Let's react. Let's see what they've got to say.
It's been about 6 months since we announced Stormgate, and we want to provide an update on our development. We're actually building our own game engine, and no, that doesn't mean that we're not using Unreal Engine 5. Unreal Engine 5 is powering all of the graphics and sound and input, provides the pathways for all of the art that we put into the game. But the gameplay itself is driven by a piece of technology that we're developing called Snowplay. Snowplay is a custom-developed engine for real-time strategy. It is a set of logic that is being built exclusively by our team here at Frost Giant, designed to handle the high unit counts and the low latency networking that are necessary to facilitate a really great real-time strategy game. You're going to hear today from James Anhalt, our chief architect, who is leading the development of Snowplay. And you're also going to hear from our art director, Jesse Brophy, who is leading the design for each of the factions or races that are going to be featured in our game.
All right. Okay. So it's going to be an art update with Jesse Brophy. Cool. Look forward to hearing about that. Way more important, though, as he's mentioned, Snowplay is their own tech they've built within Unreal Engine 5, which is meant to handle all of the pathing and everything with all the high unit counts. Basically building the technology that's incredibly intensive, I imagine expensive, and I imagine you need experts to do it, which has been the main thing lacking in a lot of RTS games. You look at any of my interviews or last videos talking about Stormgate and also Frost Giant when they were first forming the company but hadn't announced Stormgate as their project yet. Basically, one of the most common complaints was that most RTSs that come out these days feel kind of just rigid. Your units get stuck on each other. Units are really slow to turn, or they just don't respond for 1 or 2 seconds after you give them an order. StarCraft 2 still is the gold standard for that. So I'm really looking forward to what James has got to say. By the way, James is he's the lead. He was the lead pathing dev on StarCraft 2. So he had a key part in building the pathing engine, I believe, and how all that works. So I don't know if that's the whole engine or what exactly. I just know he was a big part of why StarCraft 2 is as smooth as it is. I'm not very technologically savvy, so for anyone out there who's got any more engineering background, share it in the comments.
Snowplay is the deterministic game engine that we built to provide us with fast, smooth, responsive RTS gameplay. Snowplay is all about making Stormgate more fun. The fun in the game comes from how responsive the game is and how it just feels to play it. Unreal Engine 5 provides a client-server networking model, but we require a networking model that supports a large number of units.
Yeah, so that's always been the problem from what I've heard, is basic Unreal Engine is fine when you've got 5 or 10 people running around in an FPS or this or that, but when you've got potentially 300 Zerglings and, 200 Marines charging at each other, or like a 4v4, there's like literally thousands of units on the screen. It just basically doesn't cut the mustard, and it'd be pretty clunky.
And Snowplay gives us this deterministic engine where we can just simulate the game based on the player inputs. Snowplay allows us to simulate Stormgate at 60 Hz for smooth, responsive gameplay feel. It'll be the most responsive RTS game I've ever worked on, and I've worked on a few great ones. Rollback.
Whoa. Hold that thought. Some fighting words there. Oh my God, that is sick. The fact that they let him say that in a video is awesome. Let me hear that again.
Great ones. Responsive gameplay feel. It'll be the most responsive RTS game I've ever worked on, and I've worked on a few great ones.
He's worked on StarCraft. I actually don't know his whole resume, James's resume. He's normally in the shadows as a little bit of an Omega nerd behind the scenes. So I haven't actually had the chance to speak to him myself personally. But that's fighting words. That's awesome. So, I mean, StarCraft 2 is the gold standard. And if he's saying this is going to be the most responsive ever, then he's basically saying, hey, this is actually going to be smoother than StarCraft 2. So I can only imagine the improvements on that are relatively incremental, since StarCraft 2 is already so bloody smooth. But hey, let's see what he's got to say.
Rollback allows us to reduce the lag a player feels playing the game over the internet. Rollback works by allowing us to simulate the game even in the absence of player input. And if we receive input later, we can roll back to that time that the input happened and then simulate forward really quickly to catch back up. Snowplay allows us to
Oh, right. So that's actually really interesting. I believe they have this feature in some other games like Overwatch and a few others to try and make it. So basically, the difference here is rather than you putting the input in and the game kind of waiting to receive it before executing the next orders, it's going to try and keep executing. And then if it's like, oh, wait, one of the orders actually differs from what we've simulated, we're going to quickly go back and then try and play that out again. That's really interesting because I feel like there could be some issues there. Let's see if he's got anything else to say on this.
And then simulate forward really quickly to catch back up. Snowplay allows us to mass spectate games forward really quickly.
All right, so that's all he's got to say on that. Okay, so basically the issue here is if you're like trying to micro in a certain way, and you get this sometimes in shooter games where you think you've shot someone and then they like phase to somewhere else, right? So in extreme cases where players are a bit laggy, like if you got someone from Brazil versus someone from Australia, then you can extreme cases have rollback potentially make the game a bit weird and jagged. I really wonder how that works, especially with so many units, because it's already mind-boggling enough for me thinking about how that works in first-person shooter games. But to try and understand how that's going to work with so many different units that it's calculating for is fascinating. Now, what's cool is most of the time that's just going to make the game feel smoother and more responsive. And I imagine for most players, it's just going to make the game feel way better, especially if you do play with a bit of lag normally. You're just going to be like, oh, the game doesn't feel laggy. So it'll feel a lot better to play. But there might be situations in a heavy interactive micro situation where you think something's happened a certain way and then it kind of quickly rewinds a little bit and ends up happening slightly differently. That is something which never happens in StarCraft 2. And as a result, I can imagine as a competitive player, that might take some calibrating and a little bit of adjusting to get used to. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments about this one because I'm not an expert on it. And of course, I'm going to grill them about it and ask them about it when I get a chance to speak to some of the devs. And hopefully I get to have an interview with James at some point. But for now, I think that's going to be great for casual players. I think it's probably going to work really well for people who don't live in the butt end of the world like me. Then again, who knows? It might actually be an advantage for really laggy players like myself because like it kind of phases things out for the players we're up against. I don't know. It probably works way better than I'm imagining as I only have a layman's but understanding. But anyway, the point is if that can reduce the effect of ping and just make the game feel smoother in general, I'm hoping that works out really well.
Quickly to catch back up. Snowplay allows us to mass spectate games where the viewer can rewind, have instant replays, and then fast forward back to where they were originally. Because Snowplay is deterministic, we can mass spectate a live game by broadcasting just the player's actions to the viewers and re-simulate the game on their computers.
That is huge. Okay, that's a game changer. Oh, this is obviously how I'm imagining that's exactly what Valve does with observing like Dota and stuff like that in client. And a lot of those games that have really nicely built in-client observing systems where you can like rewind, lock on a player's camera, all that sort of stuff. So the ability to simply simulate actions only and then run the simulation on the computer, it's part of the reason, why, for instance, a StarCraft replay is so small in file size is because all you really need is the orders between the players and like the basic kind of interactions that are happening there. So I imagine this is just going to make it really low bandwidth to observe games. And the fact that you can instantly rewind, replay, go back, check something in client, like that's going to be beautiful. That's going to be a next level of observing. I wonder if you'll even be able to see a player's cursor. No, you wouldn't be able to with that. That would be cool though. If you could see a player's cursor as well on screen, if that was somehow in there, because that's one thing I always feel like I'm missing is I wish I could watch more top pros, especially Korean StarCraft players like Maru, play first person view, because I think it's fascinating when you can see where their mouse is moving around the screen. It adds an entirely different dimension.
Snowplay enables designers to iterate quickly by compiling all the game logic into WebAssembly so that they can iterate while never leaving the game.
Oh, okay, that's really cool. Okay, so this is cool. Basically, you're not going to have to go out of, save your thing in the editor, upload it, hop in game, open it, test it out. Okay, this is broken. That's broken. Okay, and then you got to go back out. You got to go back and reopen the file and everything. Okay, that's cool. So basically, it's just like, hey, this is going to streamline for modders, map makers, as well as their own level designers, the ability to make that. That should lower the cost and time spent of their devs making missions. That's just going to make it even easier. That's a long-term investment for them as a company, so they can make mission packs, extra campaigns way quicker. And it also means the community, there's going to be people who are just more motivated to pump out more content because it's going to take them way less time. That's really cool.
This also unlocks the potential for modders to be able to iterate quickly and reach the same level of polish.
The art team's been focused on a lot of things in the last 5 months. We wanted to get a unified visual vision for both the Resistance and the Infernal Host. All
right, so over onto the art. We've got Jesse here now. Just to finish up on James, cool stuff about Snowplay. That really is, I think, the one piece of technology which is the biggest selling point to the cynical RTS fans out there. That's what gets me the most excited, is that one of the first things they did when they kind of figured out, hey, we're doing an RTS, we want to do this, was get James on board. And I'm pretty sure he's just been grinding away in the background trying to figure things out this entire time and building it from the bottom up. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of it. Now we get to the more lighthearted side of also stuff which we can all appreciate and criticize openly because it's very subjective, which is the art. So he just said they're going to be trying to formulate, was it a cohesive kind of vision for the Resistance, I think he said?
We're also doing a lot of work on our core technology inside of Unreal, as well as a great deal of environment work for our terrain and our cliff systems. We're calling the human faction the Resistance, and they're humanity's last line of defense against the infernal invaders. They're a scrappy group. They've preserved knowledge about advanced robotics and scientific know-how, and this gives us a lot of options for mech designs, as well as creative exploration of future technologies.
Okay, so what's cool about that? Because they're kind of meant to be scrappy and like low-tier rebels, right? It's going to be like living in tents, but then also you've got mechs. What's cool about this is everyone loves an underdog. We all like kind of, I don't know about you, but me personally, I love the rebel sort of underdogs. On the other hand, you can also have a lot of freedom. Like he said, we have a lot of options, right? So they can just be like, oh yeah, we've got sick, awesome medical tech, or we've got these awesome mechs. Like there's certain knowledge they have. And it can also be something like, oh, hey, we've lost the knowledge how to do this. Oh, but hey, look, we found an old data mine or something, and bam, now we know how to build a siege tank, There's a lot of options in terms of unlocking the technology willy-nilly as they want, but it seems like a mixture of, like really high-tier mechs and otherwise mostly just a bunch of humans running around in the rags.
Recently, the concept team took about 6 weeks to focus on the visual development of the Resistance. We didn't have design briefs, and none of these are specifically going to go into game. It's just us exploring visually what the faction's going to look like. This first image is by Leah, one of our concept artists, and it's just her exploring stuff that she kind of wanted to look into visually. She got inspiration from Buzz Lightyear and F-14 Tomcats, and this is the result of that.
Buzz Lightyear and a fighter jet combined equal this. I like it. So obviously you can see the colors. It looks like blue with orange highlights, like different shades of blue and kind of metallic, kind of gray with, or even, I guess it's more like a gunmetal blue, right? These like gray areas as well, like over here. And then just orange highlights seem to be the main colors. You've also got like little teal bits on the exhausts, right? So teal power sources or exhausts might be a common sort of thing. Maybe that's like what the battery power they use is. Overall, looks all right. You could see this is, like he said, basically disclaimer. None of this will probably be in the game. So we'll see how it is. But stylistically, yeah, it looks kind of cartoony. Kind of cool. This one definitely, I think, falls more on the Buzz Lightyear than the F-14 Tomcat side.
This next image is one created by Timmy, one of our concept artists as well, and it's his take on what a Resistance flying unit could look like. This final unit is his take on what a Resistance flying unit.
Oh, okay, so it can deploy and pack up. Oh, cool, so it can like drop out or something? Interesting. He's got these whole like staged drawings behind me. I'll just get rid of myself for a moment. There you guys. Can see it. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I would say once again, pretty cartoony. Same color scheme though, as you can see, orange highlights, otherwise blue. And I do like the angles and stuff. It kind of looks a little bit like a stingray to me. I don't know why. There's just something about these rather like fat wings where it kind of looks like a ray. Not bad, not bad.
Unit could look like. This final unit is called the Giga Mech, created by John Ryder. We don't know if this mech will ever make it into the game, but artistically we wanted to explore what it could look like if there was an end game unit, something that was so massive when it came onto the battlefield that one side was going to have to win over the other. The Infernal Host was so massive when it came onto the battlefield that one side was going to have to win over the other.
All right. So the Giga Mech. I like that it has completely articulated hands. I mean, that's just hilarious. For me, it's like I love what's it called? Kaiju's Pacific Rim. I don't know. It's obviously not the most logical form of giant weapon, but it's cool if you build something with big fists that can punch things. It looks bloody awesome. So we can see the little orange part is its visor there. Seems to be like, the cockpit, I should say. It's got giant hands. Looks like it has big wing booster type things that can probably fold out as well. So it can fly around or at least hop. And I don't actually see any guns on it, but I would imagine it has wrist or hand mounted guns. Like maybe these little yellow pockets. Guns can pop up out of there or something like that. Now, interestingly, is this like its power charging pad or something? Does it need to come back to the charging pad? I'm not really sure why that's included with it, but that's cool. Maybe it kind of has to go back there, or maybe that's just the production facility that it pops out of. Either way, looks all right. I think once again, the main criticism here would be quite cartoony. Now, that I think is something I'm kind of touching on because a lot of people mentioned this last time I talked about this game. So I'm totally fine with it. All I care about is visual clarity. Obviously, I do care if the units look cool as well. But what I find with RTS games is because the units are very shrunk down, you actually want cartoony looks. I absolutely adore Warcraft 3 graphics from the original game. Those are probably the most cartoony example from Blizzard. But if you look at even StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2, a lot of people, I think it's a bit grittier than it really is. If you look at it closely, the units are actually quite cartoony. But that's why they pop so much and they look all very visually clear, exactly what they are. Whereas games like Company of Heroes, where it does look more realistic, I think you can still get used to seeing what the units are, but at first glance, it's harder to discern the difference between them. It's not as visually clear, let's be real. And it also just doesn't look as distinctive. So I actually think, especially when you scale these down, you add in more shading and different things, it could be really cool. I do think, though, that this style so far, people will be complaining a fair bit that it looks a little bit like League of Legends or mobile gamey, right? Does this look like, is this a mobile game? That's like the one thing with these art shots, which I think a lot of people will be saying. I always reserve judgment till the final one because I've seen alpha art from and pre-alpha from a lot of games, and the final product usually looks completely different once it's fully shaded in and all that sort of stuff.
The Infernal Host is a violent, warmongering society of alien creatures.
Yes! All right, onto the bugs. I mean, not bugs in this case, but for those who don't know, I'm a bit of a hipster nerd. I like to just choose the thing that's not as mainstream, right? Most people that play StarCraft play Terran. My instinct was to go play Zerg in StarCraft 1 because it's like, oh, this is cool. I'll be the aliens. Natural selection played as the aliens. Warhammer 40k or fantasy, orcs and goblins, orcs and Gretchen all the way. So I'm pretty sure I will be an Infernal Host player, but who knows? Maybe I'll play a bit of both. Either way, demons that shoot, I don't know, fire and breathe out hellspawn and spawn. I don't know. I'm hoping there's something in them that's like kind of like a great unclean one. You know, something that's just got like big, dirty. I don't know if they'll go as gory as I would like because I think they want it to be pretty, G-rated in terms of having a wide appeal and stuff as a free-to-play game. But I wouldn't mind a little bit of gore, a little bit of darkness in there.
They travel through Stormgates, from planet to planet, conquering any life forms that they come across. Anything strong enough to fight back is assimilated into their ranks. Their main purpose is for resources, primarily what we would call life force or anima. Earth has a great deal of anima, which makes it a high-value target to the Infernals. To them, energy equals power. The human faction uses advanced robotics. The Infernals use magic. Just like the...
Oh, okay, I like that. I like that they're already drawing that dynamic there. So the humans aren't going to have any magic there. Who knows? Maybe they can steal some magic from them or learn how to use it, right? There was the artifact in the cinematic, which they're going after. So maybe they're gonna harness some magic and use it against them or something like that. But otherwise, that's a cool dynamic. You've got basically savage demons using magic, and then you've got humans. It's gonna be like Indiana Jones, right? The guy's spinning his sword, except in this case, it's gonna be a fiery sword, and he's speaking in tongues, trying to summon some dark magic. And Indiana Jones is just gonna pull his gun out and shoot him. Sounds like a good dynamic. I like it.
Resistance visual development that we did, we also did the same thing for the Infernals. We took 6 weeks to really focus on what the designs are going to be so that we had a unified language for the team. This image is what we're calling the Mist Reaper. We loved it the second Leah drew it. It again was all part of our exploration to go, how do we want to design the Infernals?
Demon Genie? Hello, Demon Genie? Like, what the hell? That's sick. So yeah. Mist Reaper, they call that. Okay, that's awesome. I mean, it's basically just a genie, right? It's all wispy at the bottom and stuff. But then it's got these big hands, which can also summon these kind of misty blades, which are probably part of an attack it does. Excuse me.
It again was all part of our exploration to go, how do we want to design the Infernals? This image is by TJ, again, one of our concept artists, and he really wanted to explore the structures of the Infernals and what the shape language was and what type of materials we could use to explore them.
All right, so that's cool. Yeah, not particularly surprising. You've got like runes on the side of a black, sharp edges sticking out. This black kind of I don't know if monolithic's the right word, but this big structure makes me think very like Oblivion Gate. When you go through to those, what are they, the sigil towers or whatever they are. You've got chains, big black chains going up to this floating thing around this ball. It's got this red kind of glow around it. You got maybe what looks like lava down the bottom in the middle as well. So going more lava rather than blood, probably because they don't want it to be gory and stuff, get into all sorts of classification issues. Fair enough. Looks pretty cool.
Explore the structures of the Infernals and what the shape language was and what type of materials we could use to explore them. This final image by Tom, one of our concept artists, is what we're calling the Worker right now. We wanted to keep the Infernals very dark and gritty, but there's some areas where we want to have some charm and levity, and we thought this would be a great place to do it.
Have some Charmander. Hello? Okay, it is adorable. I do really like this guy. They said it's just called the Worker for now. He's got magic runes all up and down his head, big glowing cute eyes, burning yellow tail. He's got 3 claws.
Concept artist is what we're calling the Worker right now.
I like it.
We wanted to keep the Infernals very dark and gritty, but there's some areas where we want to have...
Yeah, some areas they just want to have some fun. And fair enough. I mean, definitely you want to have some cute stuff in there. Bonus points if you can like torture them. Like I'm immediately thinking of like Dungeon Keeper, where you can slap your imps to make them work faster. If you could get like one of your other demons to bully them to make them like mine resources faster or something, that would be fantastic. Please come on, Frost Giant. You guys know you wanna make the game a little bit darker. Put some dark Easter eggs in there. Let's go for it. We've got a teddy bear down here. This one's just found a nice shiny rock. The rest are carrying them around. Yeah, pretty cool overall. And I think they're just trying to show, hey, we're going to have a lot of like cool dark demons, but we'll have 1 or 2 units that are kind of like funny little homunculus looking dudes.
Have some charm and levity, and we thought this would be a great place to do it. Again, we don't know if any of these units will make it into the game. We were just exploring visually as a team.
So that's what we've been working on. I know everybody's eager for some gameplay footage, and we will share some gameplay footage next year before closed testing starts. But in the meantime, I want to wish you a happy holiday on behalf of everyone here on the Frost Giant development team.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas to you too as well, Tim. Okay, that's it then. So basically there's some art updates there. I like that he acknowledges at the end that it's like, all right, look, I know you want to see gameplay. We will share some next year. I think the initial goal was for them to go into closed beta pretty early in 2023. I can't remember the exact date, or maybe it was somewhere in the middle. I can't remember if it was just 2023 or if it was like early or the middle of the year when the beta was meant to be coming out. So yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully they actually come out with some stuff. I just want to get in the engine and play the game the moment it's finished. The moment Snowplay is completely done, which I imagine it's getting there now that they're way deeper in dev. I just want to get in there and feel how it is, and then also feel how it is as an Australian who's very selfish, playing from the arse end of the world. you know, does my 200 ping feel way better with the rollback? I'm so curious. Honestly, for me though, I've just got to go back and once again say what gets me most excited is that comment from James where he says most responsive.
The fun in the game, Engine 5 provides a client model, but we require a network. And Snowplay gives us this deterministic engine, or a networking model that supports a large number of units. And Snowplay is to simulate feel. It'll be the most responsive RTS game I've ever worked on, and I've worked on a few great ones.
All right, that's what I'm being left with here. I hear that. I know this is why game devs hate saying too much, because fans like myself will freeze frame that one phrase. It will be like, we will hold you to this. But honestly, I've got a lot of faith. James has worked, as I said earlier, at the StarCraft 2 pathing dev. Once again, as much as of a cynical nerd as I am, I think they're going to build a really good engine. I don't think it'll be a perfect game. I don't think there is one. I think even most RTSs had a lot of issues at launch. So I'm just really happy that they're going to build an engine that's really smooth. And as long as they build a really good sandbox, I know the community and the modders and the map makers and everyone are going to build amazing content. But I still think there's a good chance they're going to do that themselves as well. I'm cautiously optimistic. I am getting excited about it. For me, it's just like, hey, if they can succeed with this, I'm hoping that it's kind of ripe for the next age of RTS to go super viral, have a new wave of lots of young players get into it and that sort of stuff. Whether it does or doesn't, either way, just to have another new RTS to play made with passion and love. Very excited for 2023. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. And don't forget to go and you can I think they're trying to get people to, you can wish list it on Steam and you can sign up for the beta on the Stormgate website. I'll put some links down below, as well as links to my previous interviews and videos talking about their kind of roadmap and overall goals with the game in terms of other areas like esports and that sort of stuff as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.